for finding my podcast. This is Awesome and Disaster with me, Will Carey. Thank you for finding this podcast. If you want to email me, if you decide you like what you hear, please go to my website, willcareyisfunny.com. That is Carey isfunny.com. This show is going to be about me sitting down with other creative people and a lot of my friends and kind of trying to learn more about their lives and some of the struggles they've been through. And I'm hoping that I can find some kind of answer for myself in how they triumphed over their hardships, because that's sort of the theme I'm going for this show. Between awesome and disaster, to me, that's what life is. Life is a never-ending flux between the two states of awesome and disaster. Things are either really great, really horrible, or just being horrible and are on their way back to being good, or really good and are going to start being bad again soon. And I think in the middle of that is where you build character, and that's what I want to learn doing this show. And that's especially what we're going to talk about today, because my guest today is my friend Benel Germosen. Benel's a comedian from New York who's been through a lot at a really young age, and I was excited to talk to a guy who's been my friend for a while, but I didn't know everything that he told me in this next hour that you're about to listen to. And it was really kind of inspiring to hear him talk about what he had to go through to get to where he is now. And you're going to hear a man who went through some incredible hardships in his life, and how comedy was also part of what helped him get out of that. So we're going to go now to my conversation with my friend Benel Germosen, and I'll touch base with you guys again after the episode. And here we go. Here's my conversation with my friend Benel. Thank you. I made sure to start recording after you said that. So could you go back to real quick to what you were saying about you did a show on Periscope that was like
a
TV show?
Me and Pat Riley did a Periscope comedy show, which is just a live streaming comedy show.
Mm-hmm.
That we just got a bunch of comedians in a room in Brooklyn in Legion Bar, and it was like setting up a television show. Because
mm-hmm.
the Periscope app, the way you get viewers is if you kick it up to the top. So you'd have to stop and wait like 5 minutes and then kick it up to the top, and then more people would watch it. Instead of just recording one long thing, people will drop off after a while. So to get people, you stop recording and start a new video and then record that. So it's like we were doing that. It's like essentially commercial breaks.
Right. So you're taking a commercial break in between each
stand-up, yeah, and in that we could set up shops and talk about introductions and shit like that. I really
interesting.
It was a real fun show. The show came about because me, Pat Riley, comedian Sam Bourne, Lawson Leon, and Jerry Reed all went to Pat Riley's father's place upstate. It was like this nice little little house upstate, and it was we just had a dude's weekend together, and we decided to do a show in his living room that he periscoped, and we got 70 people at the high point.
That's pretty good. I don't know if any of us have had 70 people at any of our live shows.
No, and it's I think the most we've gotten overall 100 people saw Sam Bourne and Maria Heinig and Corey Spencer and
mm-hmm.
Andy Zanford do comedy over the course of an hour.
The new ways of the new social media apps are it's very interesting watching people try to adapt to watching comics adapt to using them.
Yeah. What surprises me is that it wasn't any nobody's doing a live stand-up comedy show off of this thing. It's
It makes
amazing.
it makes sense, like especially if you're unknown and it's a way that people can see you, or if you have a fan base that may not be able to get to a particular show,
Yeah.
then that's a way that you can have people see you.
Yeah, right now people are using Periscope like Snapchat, where it's like they're just showing you what they're doing on their day, which is fine. But like, as a medium, as a vehicle for stand up, like you could just run it. You can set up like 3 Periscope apps, and just like
Yeah, you could have the first Periscope comedy special. I actually think I saw someone did their comedy special with like 10 iPhones.
oh, you could fucking yeah, of course you can do that.
Yeah, I think that's almost better, like embracing your DIY low budget aspects compared to trying to make it look like a big production if
There-
you don't
yeah.
have the ability to do that.
Yeah, like fucking Bryson did a fucking special last year, and it was fucking amazing. And he's
Mhm.
releasing on his own, like released it on his own website. Like, why can't you?
Yeah. Well, he's just like he's sort of like he's like Bigfoot. He's
Yeah,
sort of like
I
the
saw Bryson
Bigfoot
like
of New
two-
York. There's like I have like sightings of him, or like I hear things about him.
one blurry photo of him in the back of an open mic. It's like, is that him?
Right. And then like there's like, and then you have like photo experts break down the photo.
Yeah, it's like, is that Bryson Turner? Like a lot of
Mhm.
people don't know Bryson Turner in New York now because like there's another crop of comedians that have just come here and come up and haven't seen him. But like when I started,
Mhm.
Bryson was the shit, king shit. Like
Yeah, and like he was, I knew him from. I stayed at his place in Austin for a week and did shows and just drove around Texas
right.
talking about comedy. So I was like, yeah, that guy, I love that guy. That guy's awesome.
Yeah, I absolutely adore him.
Yeah, like all of these guys that I knew in other cities, they would come to New York and then everyone would love them and talk about them, and then I would still be all alone.
Yeah.
Is what I've
Is that like
what I
is
would
that something you
keep
felt
finding.
for a while that you were alone?
Yeah, I did Benel Germosen.
Oh yeah.
I did like for it took me probably 3 years of going to just going to an open mics at the Creek before I felt like I wasn't at a party I wasn't invited at.
Ooh. Yeah, that is tough. But you were a lot
Mhm.
more cloistered back then too.
I was
you were a lot less socially like
yeah, I
forthcoming.
feel like
you were quieter.
well because when I'm trying to think about when we met Benel.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I probably
Yes,
known
Will
you,
Carey.
like, I
Sorry.
probably, well, that's my way of I'll record something separate.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure
later.
you're gonna do an introduction whereby you like, hey guys, this is Will Carey, and this is like this thing, and then you're gonna tell them who I am, and then you're gonna give my
Right.
Twitter handle.
Yeah, because I was trying to think of, because I would always gravitate. I would gravitate towards certain people, and I think you were one of those people I gravitate towards. I think the first time I met you, you had a pair of plastic brass knuckles on you.
Yeah, was that Rivers mic? We were at 11 p.m. Creek mic, because that's where I really showed those off.
Yeah, I don't know if it was
Might have been that Wednesday.
Yeah, it might. It was definitely there, and I just remember going, "Why is
Do you have a
why
plastic
does this
bag?
guy
You
have?"
plastic brass knucks?
And
and
then
a
you're
billy
like,
club.
because actual brass knucks are illegal, but loopholes.
Yeah, like
That's-
you can
that's
walk
what you
through
do.
metal detectors with these, and they're technically not illegal because they are not metal.
Because you're not picking up. So, did you feel like for a while that you had to constantly be ready to throw down?
I was at a bad place in my life. I was working security at the time when you met me, and that was like, I look back at it and it's like, holy shit, I really got into some shit, like working security. Like I was working security in the ghetto and like in these horrible like condominiums. They were like barely like Wild West towns essentially. Like the whole building is like a saloon in an old
Right.
Sergio Argento film.
Uh-huh.
So like I had to constantly protect myself. I wasn't living a good life. Like I was living a very precarious situation, and I just thought
Yeah.
this is the way things are. Like
So-
I never question it.
And so you were just like, did you have like confrontations where you would
Constantly.
have to use things?
Constantly.
And were you were working in like the city or like one of the outer
I was in the
boroughs?
Bronx. I was working up like way.
You were
up
working security in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely the Wild West.
Yeah, definitely. Like the Bronx is so bad that the only thing that can gentrify is Legionnaire disease. That's how bad the Bronx is.
Like you'll just have to start all over.
Yeah.
Like the zombie virus that starts.
Oh no, yeah,
has to wipe
it's
out the
pretty
Bronx.
bad.
And that's an improvement.
Like I
It's
would
zombies.
rather, guys, I would rather Pinkberry, but like Legionnaire's disease is fine.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I had this theory. I want to test it on you. That the way like East New York and like the South Bronx would be gentrified is what has to happen. The first dumb person's going to come in and open the cupcake shop. They're all going to get stabbed.
Yeah. They're gonna
Cupcake
get
shop gets
murdered.
burned down.
They're gonna get murdered.
Right. But so that's going to happen. And then another cupcake shop will open, burned and stabbed.
Yeah.
They're going to burn the people, stab the cupcake shop. But my theory is probably by like the 5th or 6th attempt at opening the cupcake shop, everyone that'll have been doing the stabbing and burning will be in jail. So that's when gentrification is going to finally
there'll always
take hold.
be more dudes.
They'll rally.
There'll always be more dudes who are willing to go to jail in the Bronx. There's always more dudes.
That's something that the
Well,
system, because you're from the Bronx, right?
Yeah. I was raised in the Bronx. Born in the Dominican Republic. I was raised in the Bronx since I was like 3 months old. So I've been living here longer than most.
Mm.
People.
So but you I didn't know you were born in the Dominican Republic.
I was, yeah. My mom could have had me here and made me a naturalized citizen, but she didn't.
Oh, so you're not a naturalized citizen?
I am a naturalized citizen.
Oh, okay.
I could have been just born here and just gotten citizenship, but my mom decided to go back to the Dominican Republic, had me there, and then come back here. And then when I was 18, I became a citizen.
Mm-hmm. That was the start of the problems between you and your mom.
No,
I'm only saying this because I know you a little bit.
Ooh, boy, we have a long really, it's come to a head now because my older brother ended up getting arrested for kidnapping. And so it's come out like, oh, you've never given a fuck about any of your other kids except this guy. Like it's clear that my mom only loves my older brother. Like it's very clear. And just looking back on it, it's like that memento moment when it's like, oh my God, it's all made sense going back years. Like, oh, fuck, yeah. Oh, now I get it. My mom doesn't give a fuck about anybody else but my oldest brother. Because he's his firstborn, I assume.
Did you feel that when you were growing up?
No, I didn't recognize that. I thought I could earn my mom's affection, and no one can earn her affection.
How did those attempts manifest themselves?
I would just try to be good. I would try to pay attention. I didn't do drugs. Like literally, I'd listen to anything she'd tell me to do, and then I'd do it. I tried my best to do it. And when I disappointed her, I felt really awful, like really guilty, and that guilt weighed upon me, and just for years, just weighed upon me. Until like I was reduced to nothing underneath its like weight of her disappointment, and after a while,
it's the worst.
And after a while, I realized like, oh no, my mom is crazy. She'll never respect me. She'll never love me the way I want her to love me. She'll never give me the affection that she wants because she doesn't care about anyone but herself. Like she doesn't give a shit about anything I do. So why am I putting all this effort to please a woman that's unpleasable, that you can't win with? My mom has never been happy. Like, I could say this with assured confidence. My mom has never known joy in her life.
And she's from the Dominican Republic as well, or she was born in America?
She's in the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you know of? I'm trying, because whenever I see these patterns like this, I'm trying to figure out what maybe started this. Like, do you know of any details of her
the
life
the broad strokes is she hated her extended family. She like hated her brothers growing up,
right?
Because they were, I think, violent. Like one of them was violent and abusive, and just essentially could do no wrong in her mother's eyes. She's essentially what my mom herself is doing to my oldest brother.
Right.
Like her older brother would be shitty, and my mom and her mom would like be like, hey, he's not doing anything wrong. And my mom got mad, so she left at like 17. Shacked up with an older dude, had 2 kids. That dude hit her. She left. She met my dad, and then they got married, and they had 3 more kids.
Right.
My dad, just known carouser, and came to New York. She came to be with him.
So she followed him to New York.
She followed him. Stranger in strange land. Had to sort of learn how to deal with the city. Didn't learn well how to navigate it. She doesn't like going on the subway, so she's never been. She never really goes into Manhattan. Literally, she's never seen anything that's like. She's never been to the Empire State Building. Never been to the Statue of Liberty. Never been.
She just stays in the Bronx.
She just stays in the Bronx. I invite her out to places she doesn't want to go because like she doesn't like traveling. She just likes staying in the Bronx, and like so she raised 3 kids. My dad, was notorious cheater.
Right.
Also drug dealer. Very successful drug dealer, I might add.
Oh, well, yeah, they go like hand in hand.
Yeah, like really successful at like the crime aspect of his life. He cheated on her a bunch. Like every time she took him back until she finally didn't. Then she's like raising us. And just like my mom is I would say like she did the best she could, but it wasn't good enough. So then I had to build myself as a person, and there's a lot of
when did that start?
25.
Oh, so
I'm like 28 now.
Right. So you were just like your entire teenage existence is just fraught with conflict. And
oh yeah, completely.
And that, because like you have that feeling of never satisfying anyone.
Yeah,
It's a terminal kind of frustration.
Dude, I was an angry teenager. Like,
yeah,
I was so angry at everyone. I was a real asshole back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like as like 13 to 17, just all through high school. Because a lot of it was like I was bullied mercilessly as a kid in
mm-hmm.
elementary school because I was like a soft, doughy kid that
yeah.
didn't run a lot and moved in 2nd grade, didn't adjust very well to moving, was like the quiet kid that never played with anyone because nobody wanted to play with me anyway.
Yeah, I was that kid too. I was the kid who would just kind of sit at the lunch table and then finish his lunch and then just kind of sit there.
Yeah, just like me too. I had like one best friend, and then that kid punched me in the stomach because another more popular kid told him to do it. So like, just like, and also, and just beginning as a kid to become untrustworthy of adults who just watched me get the shit kicked out of me and teased mercilessly and made fun of and just excluded from everything and just sat there and did nothing. Just learned to realize that, adults are stupid. They don't give a shit about you either. So you feel like you're a piece of shit when you're a kid,
mm-hmm.
get told you're a piece of shit by your mom and older brothers who tell you you're a piece of shit, then go to school, made even more, failed to be, like, so there was no escape. It's just like this round robin of being told I'm worthless. And then
mm-hmm.
high school, turning that out on everyone, going like, this is bullshit, fuck you, and just fighting tooth and nail. And by the way,
I went angry at the world.
And by the way, it's not like I went to a good school either. Like my mom.
You went to school in the Bronx. I hear that's not the best.
I also went to a bad school. Just because it's a good
system.
school in the Bronx, and I could have gone to one. My mom didn't want me to go to a good school because she's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like she thought like fucking high school. It doesn't fucking matter. You're just gonna go to get a job anyways. It doesn't matter. So finish your high school diploma. So she bussed me from where I was, which had a pretty good school district, to a bad school district so I can finish my education there, because she didn't understand things. She just thought like all high schools are the same,
mm-hmm.
and didn't understand that education has a value. Like education has values, and it's important to have a good one. So I had to struggle with bad education
mm-hmm.
as a smart kid and getting made fun of for being an intelligent kid.
Was schoolwork easier because you were in a...
I coasted the entire time. I put no effort for.
Were you getting good grades, or were you just kind of like...
Dude, I was getting good grades, and then like senior year, I stopped giving a fuck, and I still graduated, and like not the top of my class, but near the top.
Right.
Because like I wasn't one of the kids selling drugs in the school. Like
Right.
I wasn't like a 24-year-old that snuck into the school to sell drugs to teenagers. So I got like I should have graduated. Like I graduated is
Mhm.
what I mean. Like I saw a guidance counselor once in that high school.
Yeah.
And they told me go to a state school because you're not smart enough to go. Like,
see, and I feel for like people like me who grew up in like who grew up in like the suburbs and like all of these like this completely different environment. Like the idea of hearing that's like, oh well, if a teacher in any other school in that area said you're not smart enough, they would fire that teacher.
yeah, fire that teacher.
But
we in urban schools, and when I say urban, I mean black schools. You get the people that are either at the end of their career who are just there to pick up check, or the young dudes that don't know dick. It's like the 20. I had a math teacher that was 22 years old.
22 years
a
old.
22-year-old math teacher. Think about that. Think about how you were when you were 22.
I wasn't thinking about
Should
math.
you be in charge of 16-year-olds?
No, probably not.
No 22-year-old should be in charge of 16-year-old. You're 6 years removed.
Yeah, and for some people, you could still be in the class depending on how many go-rounds you've taken.
Fuck right. Like, Jesus goddamn Christ. And, like, so I went to a bad school. College, and then I just floated around for like 2 years. I was crippling depressed after high school because they had no direction. Nobody pointed at me and go like, "You do that."
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like everything I had passion for was quelled immediately. Like
you would get excited about something, and then everyone would say,
Shit on
"Oh
me.
no, don't do that." That's
not even.
What were those things?
Oh, I could give you a brilliant example, and it ties into my mom. One time I went to a parent-teacher conference with my mom, and literally the art teacher, there was like one art teacher in the whole school. And she was like, Benel is a really talented artist. Like, you can put him in a program, probably get him into an art school. Like, if he could start working now on like a really good portfolio, he could. And my mom just sat there and rolled her eyes. This woman talked to her for 25 minutes, longer than she talked to anybody else's parents. And after she's done, she's like, my mom looked at me and was like, she thinks you're good at something. Why would you say that to a 16-year-old? What would compel an adult to tell a 16-year-old that?
I couldn't even imagine, but I hope that you're still in contact with that teacher.
I'm not. I left high school and I didn't go back for my last day. I don't have a yearbook.
Right. So you didn't even get you didn't walk or anything. You like mailed me the diploma.
No, I walked. I had to walk for my mom. I don't understand why. It's not like she cared. Like,
okay, so your entire childhood and young and teenage years are just feeling like you're shackled to this woman who, despite giving birth to you, like, did you feel resented? Do you
not
feel
resented, apathetic, like indifferent towards.
Mm-hmm.
If she unless she was angry, then I was a perfect punching bag.
Yeah.
And like then if you're a perfect my mom's an angry human being.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's only angry. So
Probably, and it sounds like she's, cause growing up in chaos, that she has that anger.
Oh yeah, completely. And don't get me wrong. Don't want to go like, oh, my mom's a monster. I have a lot of resentment towards her. I do. So my shit is colored. Like, I am biased in my perception of her. I'm sure she thought she's doing a great job. Fine, whatever. But that's not how it comes from my end. And that's all I can. That's my perspective. The only perspective that I can count on.
Right, because you're having the feelings.
Yeah, I'm the one having the feelings. So like to dismiss me and going like, well, you see it from her side. I'm like, well, I could, but also she's at one time I got in a fight, and when I was 7, I got beaten up by a girl, and then she beat me up because I got beaten up by a girl. Might color me a little bit. Sorry. So like, and it's like a tenuous thing. It's like so.
And that's not helping probably the depression or the anxiety. Okay, so you get out of high school. What happens next?
Okay, so what happens next is I float around for a year. For a year, I laid in my bed, and I had a long distance relationship with a girl from Alaska. It was literally mostly over the internet. And just slowly over time just become more and more crippled by depression and being made feel
Because you don't see anywhere for your life to go or anything
Yeah.
that you're nothing. Because you get when you get really depressed, nothing excites you, and even the slightest thing seems like the biggest chore, right?
Yeah. And you can be happy and still be depressed. You can have good times. I laughed and had a good time when I was depressed, but man, I didn't have I had tenuous social relationships. I didn't go out. I didn't do anything. I didn't have a job. I just sat and slept. And just slept and slept and just kept sleeping for 2 years. And one day my mom barges into the room, tells me, "You got to go get a job. You have to leave." And I'm like, "Oh, that's a great way to talk to somebody who and I didn't know I was depressed." I'm like, "What the fuck is your fucking problem? It's not like I could go to fucking college." So I went to the Army. I went to the Air Force. I went for
what was that? What fueled that decision?
Anger. Just oh, I'll show you. I'll get out of here. I'll never come back. Because my older brother went to the Army, and he left for 2 years. And then he came back. And he came back as a diagnosed schizophrenic. Go Army. So I was like, I'm going to leave. I'm never going to come back. And then I left. And then I left. I went into training. And then on my 5th week of training, had nervous breakdown and attempted suicide.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, my mom still don't know. Most of my family doesn't know. I've attempted suicide twice.
Oh, jeez. What was? Because I know I've heard you tell this story before. What was the first time?
Oh, the first time I hung myself in a bathroom in the Lackland Air Force Base. Yeah, I was sent back 2 weeks into my training, and I had to deal with these new guys, and then something happened, and I was sent to get reprimanded or something, and then I had a nervous breakdown, and
what were those feelings?
Fucking I don't know. I don't remember it really. Just
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Hopeless.
Suddenly I can't go back home. I can't go back home. That's all I remember is going, I can't go back home, and then going to the bathroom and then taking my belt off. That's what I remember.
Oh, Jesus.
And then the last thing I remember after that is waking up on the floor of the bathroom. That's the last thing I remember. And them taking my shoelaces. That's I remember that.
Right. Oh yeah, taking your shoelaces. So
yeah.
And then do they put you in
They put you in the hospital for observation, and then they send you to another place where you're waiting to get discharged.
Right.
And I was real happy to get discharged. And then I went back home, and then back to a horrible life.
Yeah. Where were you stationed?
Lackland, Texas, which is the Air Force training base.
Right. So you get out of the hospital, and then you go back to New York.
Yeah.
And what do you tell your mom?
I told her I broke my leg, I hurt my knee, that I can't finish the training course or whatever. She did she bought it, because I don't think she cares.
Right.
So I was all right, whatever.
Do you ever think you would feel comfortable talking to her about
no.
this?
I would never. I don't tell her shit about my life. Mostly because she doesn't care and she won't remember it. I've tried. Don't get me wrong. I've tried to inform her what I'm up to and just try to talk to her. When I a few years ago, 2 years ago, I left to move in with my friend Jared because I had a place. I was going to move in. I was going to sublet one of my ex-girlfriend's place in Queens, and I needed to move out. So I moved out, and I would try to talk to my mom. My mom would call me all the time, try to guilt trip me into feeling bad that I left, which is I don't understand why, because she just likes manipulating people emotionally. That's what her thing is. She likes to feel in control, so she manipulates people emotionally. And I would try to talk to her. I would try to tell her what I was up to, and then the next time I would talk to her, she'd forget every single thing I've said. She would not remember a thing I said. She wouldn't know what I was up to. Because I was oh, you don't care. You don't give a shit about anything that's not you right now. So, okay. I'll talk to you, and then you'll never remember this. So it doesn't. I save my breath. So I'll never. No, I don't feel comfortable telling my mom anything.
Yeah. And how old are you when you get out of the Air Force?
Oh God, what am I? 22, 21, 20? Fuck if I know.
Mm-hmm. So you get out of high school, and you're out of the get out of the Air Force. You are recovering from. You're recovering from your attempt, and what space of time is it? What happens next? Are you working? Or are you
No.
still?
What happens next is I go through this like breakup over 6 months with the girl from the long distance girl.
Sure.
And destroys me emotionally. I go even deeper into my depression. Yeah, go even deeper into my depression. Decide that I need to decide that I can't do this anymore. And I tried to kill myself again, second time.
How much time is in between?
I don't know, 3 to 6 months. Literally, time is foggy for me. I do not like to remember anything.
Right.
I don't like keeping anything in my head.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I try to remove things as fast as I can from my memory banks.
You're just kind of living like in the moment. Is that like taught anywhere?
Living in the moment.
Yeah, like not in like a douchebag beer commercial kind of way, but like in a in like a to not dwell on the past or dread the future kind of thing.
Yeah, Eastern philosophy is all built on that sort of hyper moment idea of like living for now. Like I'm sure. Look, this is not the Pete Holmes podcast. We don't have to talk about Deepak Chopra on here.
Oh,
My
when it comes to philosophy, I had a theory. I have a theory I would tell him. So
we'll save it for you. Made it weird.
I will if I ever get it. So if you don't mind me asking, what was the second attempt had?
The second attempt is I tried to do it with a bunch of pills. My older brother, like I said, was diagnosed schizophrenic, and we shared a room. So I was trying to like get some pills from him, like some sleeping pills that I knew he had, and I reached into his drawer and I picked them out and just handful just took them down. Turns out I took out antipsychotic medication, not sleeping pills, and I had a reaction to it. So I slept for 18 hours. Not that by the way, as this happens, my family is living their lives. They do not care.
They're just completely oblivious. They have no idea.
No idea whatsoever.
You're wrestling with this.
And every day I'm looking around trying to I can hang myself from that. I could kill myself with that just the entire time. And they don't. It doesn't bother. Like they don't give a shit. So
right.
I'm going through this and
did you like tell and you're not talking to them about the way you feel or anything like that.
Not at all.
You're just all inside because I've wrestled with those thoughts before, but it's mostly like in high school at least it was like a pay attention to me.
Oh, okay.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't until like life really started, you experience real crippling things that you start to think, oh, okay. Like you start to think about it like, oh, well, if nothing else works, that would probably work.
Yeah.
So what's so after the psychotics, is there a moment where you are trying to pull where you're like, I have to get out of this because this isn't working for me anymore?
Immediately after my suicide attempt, I ended up going to a mental hospital for like a day or two. And I was like, oh, I don't want to go back here. I don't want to end up here. And
you don't want to be in the mental hospital.
I don't want to be in the mental hospital. I want to go home.
Right.
So I went home. They set me up with a social worker that helped me work through my problems. Nice guy. Can't remember his name to save my life. And I went to him for 6 months.
Mm-hmm. And is he like giving you goals to set, or is he helping you with coping?
He's helping me with coping mechanisms. Like through that, I developed coping mechanisms and learned about cognitive behavioral therapy and trying to figure out how to change my bad habits and stuff like that.
What were some of those things you learned?
I learned just ways to get your brain into, because when you're anxious, you have you're anxious because you've triggered your flight or fight response
Yeah.
to some stimuli, and I in those moments it's important to be present, to understand that you're not in control of whatever that stimuli is, that you're in control of your body,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's in this moment right now. What are you doing? Just telling yourself, just reminding yourself of your actions. Like, oh wait, no, I'm being anxious because I'm upset, or
Right.
I'm being anxious because I'm angry, or I'm upset, being anxious because I'm sad, or things aren't working out. I can't control this thing. Like, just for a long time, I just told myself, like, I'm not in control. You are not in control. You are not in control. Just bringing your heart rate down so that you can concentrate, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I learned in cognitive behavior, is just changing, just like learning that you're in control of your feelings and your emotions and your body. You're in control of your your psychological responses to things. And it's
right.
If you direct it, if you take onus of that, if this is what you're feeling, and if you take control of those feelings, then you'll be able to deal with situations as they come.
Wow. That I feel better already.
Yeah, no, I recommend it highly. I recommend it way more than drugs, actually. I recommend it way more than pharmaceuticals.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot tougher. It's way tougher.
Yeah, to retrain your mind.
To literally form new synapses that control your behavior it's a lot of mental energy.
Right.
Way hard. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take pharmaceuticals if you need them, but
right.
I find for me it doesn't work. Cognitive behavioral therapy is something that I found works. And by the way, this took years. This is not something that I committed to as I talked to a social worker and fixed my life overnight.
Yeah.
This took 5 solid years of building confidence and believing in myself and doing things that I enjoy and finding out what I enjoy and who I am as a person, what my views are, and what my moral compasses are, and what I allow myself to be, and what are my good points and what are my bad points, what are my strong ones, my strengths, what's my weaknesses. It took 5 years to figure this out.
Yeah.
It's sort of, I like to say, where do you get, people ask me, where do you get this confidence? And I like to say comedy, but that's not really true. Comedy is the culmination of all this confidence that I've developed. It was like a steady road that I was going on, just uphill. And comedy is the top of that hill. And
so you get through these 5 years, and that's where comedy comes in?
Yeah. I was content with working shit jobs until I died. I had no real direction.
Yeah, no, that's that. Until recently, I've been in that.
Yeah.
That too, and it's only recently that I've started thinking, oh, I could probably work and earn enough money until I am full time on a career.
Yeah.
That's a relatively new thought.
That's still that's still very distant for me. I can't. I would love to have that opportunity, but I'm I can't make this career just yet.
I know. I thought it for a long time, but what I found is that when you don't have those things to worry about, you focus more. You can actually focus more on the thing you want to do, because for the longest time I was suffering and starving and struggling, working these meaningless dead-end jobs, degrading jobs. But I thought, I have to keep doing this, because if I'm happy in a job, then I'll get soft, like Rocky 3.
Yeah.
But I just got tired.
Yeah, that's all it does. It wears you down.
Yeah, and I think I genuinely feel like there's a lot of people that are like that. Are like that. There's just an entire faction of the country that, maybe not even the country, maybe the world, that's just so beaten down and so unable to have an escape out of their circumstances.
Oh yeah.
That they're just kind of, I think
they're numb.
Yeah, numb. That's actually it. I definitely feel like I was numb for big big periods of my life.
No, dude,
But
I can feel, I was exactly that way, where I was like, I didn't feel anything. There was like I often said, like, there seems like to be a void in my stomach. Like a giant hole in my chest that there's nothing in there. And that's how I felt for a long time. Until, like, I don't know, like, I will say it's starting to socialize, like doing Dungeons and Dragons made me socialize more.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of got me out of my shell. And then wanting to do, because I used to be a writer. Like, I was like, maybe I'll be a writer. That's solitary.
Mm-hmm. What kind of stuff were you doing?
I was doing short stories. I was a short story writer.
Okay.
And I really like doing that. I really do. I do miss writing.
You still can.
I still can.
That's
but, like,
what Tumblr's there for.
No, here's the thing. Fucking stand-up has sort of taken all that onus away from it. Like, the joy I get from crafting a story does not equal the joy I get from performing stand-up. So now I like...
Sure.
Like, it's just like, I'm fucking with the frumpy... I used to fuck a frumpy librarian. Now I'm fucking like a sexy burlesque dancer. And I'm like...
And that's what stand-up is?
Yeah. It's like...
So how does... So where does stand-up begin? How do you get into stand-up?
I can literally tell you when... I can't remember the episode exactly, but I was listening to a Nerdist episode, like a Hostful.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
man, does this date me? No, Nerdist has been going on for like 5 to 10 years. So
yeah, I think Nerdist has been on for about 10 years.
Yeah, it feels like it.
They have over 600 episodes.
Yeah, so they're like getting closer to 10. They're farther than 5, closer to 10. So I was listening to the Nerdist episode, and I heard Hardwick was like answering a question out of a mailbag, and he was like, yeah, someone asked, how do you start stand-up? He's like, well, if you're going to do stand-up, just do stand-up. Like, just do it. I was like, I never wrote a joke. Maybe I should write jokes. So I started writing a joke, and I went to New York Comedy Club to do an open mic.
Yeah.
It was like 5 minutes, $5. I saw a tape of myself recently. I had brought a friend, too. I brought my friend Dio.
Uh-huh. How old were you?
24.
24?
24.
Okay, so a couple years after we're getting out of the... Yeah. We're climbing out of the abyss somewhat.
You were getting
I mean, I still think you're there depending on the day, but I think it's because I'm pulling for you, man.
I feel like I've had a lot less darker days than I've had lighter days. I've been having like a suicidal thought in 3 years.
Well, that's really good. So how does this first
Oh man, I saw a video recently and I was like 5 minutes is way too long.
For when you first
I had
do
maybe
it,
2 minutes of jokes.
Yeah.
And they're not good jokes. They're insane ramblings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is I... Because I wanted to be Jeselnik, so I started doing, like, Jeselnik jokes, but I wanted to do, like, Emo Phillips meets Anthony Jeselnik, and it wasn't good. And I wasn't good. And I just started doing it. It started...
Phillips Jeselnik, that would be a good character.
That was right. Just, like...
Yeah.
I started going every 2 weeks, and then I started going every week, and then I started going every day.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while... I was, like, sitting around at an open mic going last, and I was like, I'd rather do 80 of these than go to work. And then I got fired soon after.
What job was that?
Security job.
Yeah. That probably for the better.
Yeah, yeah. And then I just started hitting it a lot. By the way, to be fair, I was unlikable when I started comedy. Holy shit, was I unlikable. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a guy in stand-up right now. I'll tell you off mic who it is, but... I was like him, but I wasn't like creepy towards women. I was creepy towards everyone.
So it wasn't like you're a dick. It was more of like just awkward, oblivious, and just loud, and just like too pleased to be there, like too happy to be around people. And it came from a like genuine place. I was like, right.
I loved hanging out with comedians. I love being around stand-up. I love being around shows. I was just so interested. For like a year, I was just so pumped and psyched. Almost 2 years, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I was just so psyched to be doing this. And then, like sort of, I don't know where I developed this sort of network of friends, but I sort of did. I want to say, like, Lawson Leon was, like, the guy that sort of vouched for me, I think, first. And then, like, from him, a bunch of other people vouched for me.
Right.
Started, like, because through Lawson, I met Kevin Seafried, and from Kevin Seafried, I met Kevin Frolix, and Kevin Frolix, I met you. And then from you, I met a bunch of other people, and then also came from like it's just this network of people. Also, at that time, I met Max Corbel. Max Corbel, for those of you who don't know, hilarious comedian from Australia. He was here for 3 months before I met him. We met outside. It's like a fucking Andy. It's like a Woody Allen film.
Yeah. This is the greatest love story.
This is the greatest.
This is the greatest New York love story I've ever witnessed.
Literally the love of my life. Like, I kid you not. It was me, Max Corbel. I met Max Corbel outside of the Broadway Comedy Club, and I had a melt. He says I had a meltdown on stage, but I just like. I was just doing my material. He had
just doing my material.
He just thought, oh, Benel's having a meltdown right now. And I remember looking at him because I was on my way out into another mic, and he thought I'd seemed frustrated. I wasn't. I was like, all right, these jokes, got to do more jokes. And then I walked out, and I remember looking at him and go like, oh, this must be like a club guy, because he was like,
right.
I remember the way he was sitting. His legs were crossed, his arms were out on 2 chairs, and he was wearing like a suit.
Yeah, he was always very well dressed.
Well dressed, very beautiful,
very dapper man.
And he just goes outside, he's smoking. It's like, oh fucking, oh don't worry about it. It's a fucking. There are a bunch of comedians. They're not funny. And me and him just started talking, and we became best friends immediately. We like spent the entire night together and hung out the rest of the night, trying to find a mic to do, and we just ended up talking. We walked down Times Square together. Like, dude, it sounds like I'm. If it sounds like I'm in love.
All right,
with this person,
who grabbed whose hand first?
Oh,
I need to know. I need to know.
That's third date.
that is.
Like, you laugh because you know, like, people don't know about me and Max's relationship.
No, I know you guys. I know you guys are like,
dude. We were
like you still because for now Max had to, because of his immigration status, had left a couple of years ago, but I imagine you still talk to him regularly.
We still talk to him.
Or
So
I hope you do.
yeah, we talk to each other regularly. I got like, every time I talk to him, I'm like, I want to talk to you more, like, but I always end up fucking up. I like drop the ball because I'm busy all the time, and he's like,
I know I'm
on the
like,
other side of the fucking world.
Yeah.
So the only time, literally, I can only talk to him at 11 a.m. in the morning and 2 a.m. at night. It's the only times, because at 11 a.m. it's 2 a.m. over there, and it's 2 a.m. it's 11 a.m. over here.
Right.
It's like, so like me and him got together, and we just started fucking being around each other every single day.
Right.
We'd hang out 5 days, 6 days out of the week. Like, for literally like 12-hour periods. Wow. We'd always hang out with one another. We loved each other so much. And after he left, that's when comedy kickstarted. Like, that's when I got like, because
that's when you got the fire under your ass.
Yeah, because I had all these people saying to me, like, oh, Max is leaving. What are you gonna do without Max? I'm like, I can stand without Max. I'm a comedian. And they're like, well, can you? Because I always felt like he was better than me. And he was. People liked him more. He was a better, sharper comic. He was faster. He never wrote. When he wrote, he'd jot shit down and then come up and then just fucking do great. People loved him, and I struggled so hard because people did not like me. And it took a while for people to like me.
Right.
And then after he left, I started swinging for the fucking fences hard. Like, I started trying to hit people. Like, I started bludgeoning people to death with how good I was, and just prove to everyone how much I could stand without Manning. And after a while, it just like earned this hard fought respect from people. Like, even if you don't like me as a person, like, you cannot deny me. And now I'm like at a really good place in my life. It's leveled off to like, I don't need comedy to define me anymore. It used to define me. It used to be the person that I was.
Yeah, it used to be like the only thing that would make me happy. I'm trying to open up to it being one of the many things that make me happy. So just go back real quick. So when you start stand up, like, were you like a fan of comedy before you got into stand up, or
yes, I was.
Who are your guys?
It took a while for me to figure out who my guys were.
Because like when I watch you, your stand up is, I think, trying to purposely appeal to the most diehard of nerd interests in the room. But then I also think you're when you do long form stuff, and I think you do long form really well.
Thank you.
It's coming from this very honest, messed up place. But it's a like kind of the theme of this podcast.
Yeah, that is
it's
true.
just this like, it's this like beautiful car wreck of emotions.
Thank you. God, because my guys, I always loved, because I used to watch the Comedy Central half-hour special religiously.
Yeah.
Like those Comedy Central presents.
Sure.
I grew up on those, so I literally saw like Dane Cook's first hour. I saw Daniel Tosh's first hour. I saw fucking Patton Oswalt's first. I saw Louis' first hour, like first half hour.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I saw Doug Stanhope's first half hour, Dave Attell's first half hour.
Attell. The ones
Louis
I remember.
Black's first half
I remember Greg Barron is one I remember.
Oh yeah, Louis. Oh, Greg Barron's so good.
Jim David was
David,
another one I remember.
You remember?
I also vaguely remember. I think I watched Carlos Mencia's.
I saw Carlos
half
hour too.
The whole they dropped 2-bomb thing.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I
didn't know that was him until like years later, like when there was just a clip of it on TV, and I was like, oh, I saw that when I was like in high school.
So I saw Louis Black's first hour, half hour is what made me like love that show.
Yeah,
because it was young Louis Black, young Louis Black is in his 40s.
Yeah.
So it was him talking about Clinton, and it ends. I remember how that his last punchline is him on a couch, and he's going and he's talking about switching back between Clinton giving a speech in front of Congress and Clinton giving a speech in front of the UN, and like he's wondering which one of them is real. That's like what made me a comedy fan. So, but when you talk about my guys, like I didn't develop like a fine taste for comedy until I started doing comedy. But like I can tell you, like Chappelle was the thing that changed my language. In that, the Simpsons are also another thing that has just made me who I am today.
Right.
So like the Simpsons, Dave Chappelle, Looney Tunes cartoons, of course. Hanna-Barbera can suck balls. These are so much better.
Well, Hanna-Barbera's animation was always kind of crude to me.
Animaniacs growing up.
Oh, I loved
Stereo,
Animaniacs.
Fucking Tiny Toons. Just a bunch of great shows growing up. And like when it comes to straight stand-up now, my favorites are like Patton Oswalt. I loved listening to Werewolves and Lollipops. It's one of my favorite albums.
Oh, such a good album.
Oh, so good. Honestly, I think it's his best work. It's literally, I think it's his best work.
Yeah, that's my favorite album of his. His other albums, I laughed, but I think he was able to. He's still very personal. But it's not like all references to obscure books and movies anymore.
No.
It's maybe a little bit more broad, but he's still incredibly funny.
Oh yeah, no, he's still great. Don't give him like. Don't
Yeah, and that's
bad.
That
But Werewolves and Lollipops is literally mostly nerd.
Yeah, I think
references.
that's like my AM/FM.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's a barometer
for when I started doing like compared to like when I started doing stand-up, it was Mitch Altogether, Mitch Hedberg's album. I also had I had a bunch of the I had Ron White.
Ron White. So
I really like
why.
him.
Okay, see, because of the storytelling aspect, I can see why you would love Ron White, because he is great. But he's an amazing storyteller, and I think that's why. I feel like that influence has come into your work too. Yeah,
because I've starting when I first started, I was
joke dense. You were joke dense.
I was very joke dense, very one-liner dense, trying to be Dimitri Martin or like those quick one-liner guys. And then as I started to see everybody doing that and starting to see that happening a lot on Twitter, I started to want to move away from that. That was also when I started getting into like Mike Birbiglia and like joke dense stories.
Yeah.
Because I have, as maybe you, I don't know, I've had to recently let go of some old heroes of long form storytelling because they're.
Do you want to talk about Cosby?
I don't want to talk about Cosby. What is there to say now at this? There's nothing really to say at this point. Bill Cosby is literally the first stand-up I saw, but he's a monster in a sweater.
I've never liked him.
People are saying that a lot now.
You know why?
I wonder if
I never liked him because he talked down to black people.
And that's what brought him down.
That's what
that hypocrisy.
I've always hated that about, like, literally, because I don't remember Cosby Show, so I don't it's not my generation. So
right. I didn't watch it when it was on either. I watched it in reruns.
And I didn't have access to like Bill Cosby himself, or to my brother who I shared a bed with. Like I never had access to those albums, so I didn't know his stand up. All I knew him from was like, oh, that's that old black guy that talks down to me. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, and this is the interesting because you're not that much older. I'm not that much older than you.
No. You're like, what, 2-3 years older than me?
Something like that. I'm 29 right now.
Yeah, so 2 years older than me.
So, because I was watching The Cosby Show in reruns, and when I was in, I think probably high school is when a friend of mine showed me Bill Cosby himself. And it took me a while to start liking it, but you can't anymore.
No, it's impossible. You can't separate the guy from his actions, from his worldview. Especially, it is that fucking you can't be.
It's that hypocrisy.
You can't be a hypocrite and a stand-up at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, you should, but you should be self-aware. You can't be not self-aware in a stand-up, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can't be not self-aware of who you are and then stand-up at the same time.
Right.
He seems profoundly self-aware about who he is.
Yeah, and he's very aware of how the game is played.
Yeah.
And that nice guy, family-friendly demeanor belies the sort of, I don't want to...
Sociopathic monster?
Yeah, in addition to being a sociopathic monster, outside of the sexual assault, just a very calculated business, sort of way of operating.
Mm-hmm. There's no warmth there.
Yeah, but because I don't want to talk about this too long because I feel I'll probably talk about it with everyone.
Yeah,
I interview.
This is gonna be your Marin thing where you're like. Instead of you excusing yourself for being an asshole, you're going to talk about Bill Cosby's awful.
I think my thing is going to be
the way Pete talks about veganism. You're going to talk about Bill Cosby.
No, I don't. I actually don't want to. I wouldn't want to talk about him at all. I'd mostly try to get people's therapy tips out of him, because I'm seeing a psychoanalyst right now. Like I couldn't find anywhere that was with CBT that was gonna tank me right away. So I'm doing analysis. So it's a lot of me talking and him asking questions, and I hoping we eventually get to the point where he starts telling me, oh well, this is what this is, and this is how you can put that to bed, because I kind of really need something
direction.
like that.
You need directions.
Yeah, but my direction, like now, what I was saying earlier is. I'm trying to move into more long-form stuff because that's the stuff that I think sticks with people. That's because you can hear a joke once and go, "Oh, that's good," but you can't really hear that joke too many times. But I feel like even like a long-form show that really grips you, makes you laugh, and then also kind of grips you emotionally, is something that can have like lasting value.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I don't know. I'm maybe weird in that because I feel like I can listen to the same comedy. I can listen to the same jokes over and over and over again. In fact, I'm such a nerd about it. I'll listen to albums, and if I really like the album, I'll memorize it. Like I've memorized Completely Serious by Daniel Taj.
Yeah,
I love that stand-up so much.
That's a good one.
Oh yeah, I'm like liberally stealing his style, like ripping him off pretty badly.
That was my biggest thing too, because when I started, I was like overly using like people's like tone of voice and
his
and
cadence,
cadence.
he's speaking from.
That's like I watch a lot of stand up that is not like me at all,
Yeah,
because I
and
feel
it's
like I can't
also- yeah.
ape anything from it. Or if anything, I'm going to ape like the more like be more physical or accentuate
Yeah.
certain things.
I have no idea what it looked like when I do stand up. So like I assume like anything I absorb is just gonna be passed through my filter, and it's just gonna be
Mhm.
like, oh, that's Benel doing whatever it is. No one has ever come up to me and tell me, you know who you remind me of? Ever.
That's good, because I used to have that for like my first 2 years, and then it slowly has faded away over time.
Yeah.
But that's good. I mean, I think you're allowed to do that for a little while.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's like training wheels. Because stand up is, it's an unnatural situation that
Yeah.
you're the focal point of a entire group of people's attention,
Yeah.
and it is your job to entertain them or die.
Yeah. And ultimately,
So-
like, you're gonna synthesize all your influences into who you are. Like this idea is like, oh, you can't borrow from anyone, or you can't like seem like you're emulating anyone, or
Yeah.
or like admit that you're emulating people.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a fallacy, because ultimately, whatever you do, you're going to pass it through your own worldview and your experiences and your filter. Like ultimately, you're still gonna be you on stage. Like
Yeah.
I'm a composite of like Pete Holmes and Patton Oswalt and Paul F. Tompkins and Daniel Taj
Mhm.
and like and also other comedians like Anthony DeVito, who I enjoy, or like
Yeah.
or Dan Perlman, like guys that I know that I watch and go like, I want to be. I see what they're doing. It's like, how can that seems fucking interesting. Like I try. It's not like I try to be Paul F. Tompkins on stage, but I
Mhm.
definitely have his
Yeah.
his
Well, there are definitely
voice
things
in
that
my
you can grab from
like
from watching a guy like that.
I used to say like, I know a joke is good if it doesn't sound like I wrote it. Like if it sounds like Rojo Perez wrote it, then I know that joke is good.
Right.
Because it's like, if I can imagine someone I know is funny doing a joke, and it'll probably get laughs, because I don't have the externalized engine of how I see myself. Like I don't know how I'm perceived. So
How are you perceived?
I have no fucking idea. I've never developed that external perception of
Mhm.
myself. Like, oh, he could see this like this. I've never developed that.
Right.
Ever. Like, I don't know what my voice sounds like outside of my own head. Even when I'm speaking. Like, I either speak too low or I'm too high. Because I don't know, I can't judge my own voice. It sounds the same no matter how I speak.
Yeah.
Everyone else seems to have this ability to, however.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are pretending, though, because a lot of times I'm like, how is everyone just getting along so well, just in these social situations?
Oh no, I've learned how to read cues, motherfucker. Like, oh no, I learned how to read these things. Like, this is not something that came internally. Like, was that
part of that 6 months with the social worker?
Yeah, also playing Dungeons and Dragons,
Mhm.
and also doing stand up, just learning how to navigate inside of a social circle, and also learning that I cannot abide by rudeness.
Mm-hmm.
You can do pretty much anything, but if you're nice about it, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's something that I think. That's also something I think that politicians and people on the left tend to miss.
Yeah.
Because now that it seems that no one really does comedy anymore. Everyone just argues about comedy.
Yes.
The people that are saying that say certain jokes are inappropriate or disagreeing with things or voicing their opinions on that are forgetting that even if they could be making 100% valid point, but if I feel condescended to
or talked
down to,
man.
I will not agree with you just to piss you off.
Yeah, I won't agree with you because I might agree with the contents of what you're saying. I disagree with you as a person because you apparently have no sense of manners. Like, the internet is full of people that love talking down to other people. Mostly because the internet's full of morons.
Yeah.
90% of
The internet's also full of people who don't have to physically be held accountable for their actions.
No.
Like, I would love to do a show where we can trace IP addresses and then go to people's houses
and punch them in the face
and say, here is Jennifer Love Hewitt. Why don't you say?
No, they've done that. They've done studies like that where, like,
I bet people back down pretty quickly.
People, yeah, of course, people fold like a house of cards. Most people are pussies. Most people are cowards. That's absolutely true. Like, humanity is mostly a race of cowards. No one likes to stand for their moral. People will compromise their morals at the drop of a hat. That's who they are. That's what humanities are. At least I'm honest with the fact that I'm a monster. Like,
yeah, and I think that's and I think that's people are better. And I think that's actually better for people to be upfront about their flaws and stuff, because I think, and going back to Cosby, I think like Richard Pryor was never. I don't think Richard Pryor was ever. How do I want to say this? I don't think Richard Pryor.
It's a horrible dude.
Hid, but I don't think he hid.
No, he didn't hit the fact that he
hid any of that.
No, like he
was like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah, he at least was honest about it, and I'm like, all right, if you're gonna be evil, fine, be honest about it. Don't hide who you are.
Yeah, because at least because then you can at least say, okay, at least there's a certain begrudging
respect
sort of respect
that you have to. That's like, that guy's an asshole, but at least he's honest. At least he's honestly aware enough to know that he's an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people out there that are not only unaware of who they are, but but have created a false self in their minds as to who they are and what they do. I know that, like, if I'm a monster, at least I eat bigger monsters. Like,
right.
if I'm gonna be a monster, at least I'm gonna be a monster that pisses off or angers other monsters. I've said horrible things to people and felt nothing for it. No remorse whatsoever. And I don't feel like it's my... And that's a lot of people would easily not say that. But I've said it to people's faces in front of them. And I'll say anything I say to your face in front of you. And that's a lot of people, not only in stand-up but also in life, will not do that.
No.
Not at all.
And that's probably why you still carry plastic brass knuckles, right?
I don't carry it anymore. My life is pretty good, actually.
Well, that's good to hear, man. I'm really happy for that, because I worry about you, and I'm glad.
Everyone does, but I'm like, I'm happier than I've ever been in my life. And every year I say that, and I keep getting happier. Like, my life keeps getting better every single year. Every single year is a new thing that's better. Every single year, my life is like, I'm more productive and stable and happier. I have more friends. And I'm good. Like, and every year I get funnier. And I bring people joy. Like, every fucking year, things are so much better for me. I have bad days. Everyone does, but the bad days are so much less than the good days. And I'm like, and you're one of the big reasons for that. All my friends are one of the big reasons for that. Comedy is one of the big reasons for that. And I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be alive, and I'm glad that I can help, even if it's just by making someone go, "Ha, you're right. That is bullshit."
And that's what we do. I think that's a great way to close. It's been good.
You.
It's been great talking to you, man.
It's been great talking to you, man. Are we good?
I can't do the whole Marin. My Marin thing is good. My Marin thing I'm going to ask is, do you hate me? which is something Mike Birbiglia said in a joke. I was like, because that'll be my word.
That's the inverse of Marin, because that's secretly what he's saying. That's actually what he's saying in each of his interviews.
Well, maybe I'll get to ask him that someday.
You should totally ask him.
When I get that chance.
When you get Marin, which will happen, I hope that you go like, "Are we good?" And then you just go like, "Well, do you hate me?"
and then he was probably like, "Not today." Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
No problem, man.
Okay, folks, that's our show. I appreciate you checking out this first episode of Awesome and Disaster with Will Carey. That was my conversation with my friend Benel Germosen. Again, intense stuff from an intense dude, and Benel's been through a lot, and I'm really glad he's here. I'm glad he shared his story with me. Until next time, please check out my website, willcareyisfunny.com. That is Will, C-A-R-E-Y, is funny.com. You can find links to my Twitter and to my Facebook page. You can send me an email if you want to reach out to me regarding today's episode. And if you liked what you heard, I would appreciate you sharing it with a friend, because it helps me learn who I'm reaching if some people can help me get the word out. So thank you for listening, and I will see you guys next week between Awesome and Disaster. Have a good one.